Ladies and gentlemen, we are live with episode 0 of Maritime Wrestletime podcast, the only podcast in the Maritimes covering all of WWE, AEW, and other big wrestling news. I am Alex, and here with my co-host Zach, and today we're just going to be giving a quick introduction of us, how we got into wrestling, some of our favorite superstars, as well as the future of Maritime Wrestletime podcast. So, Zach, talk to me about your wrestling journey.
Oh my God. I remember when I first started watching wrestling, it was probably 10 years ago. I went to a buddy's house and I slept over at his house, and he was showing me wrestling probably around the normal live time of Monday Night Raw. And I was kind of in and out on my phone, not kind of looking and all that stuff. And then he went to bed, and Monday Night Raw started again at midnight. And then I watched the whole thing by myself and actually got into the characters and stuff. I remember also my first pay-per-view was SummerSlam 2010. From what I remember from that pay-per-view, that was when DX returned before setting up Shawn Michaels' last match at WrestleMania 26.
Big pay-per-view.
Big pay-per-view. There was also Punk versus Hardy for the World Heavyweight Championship and the TLC match. And then Taker showed up, and that was my first experience of Undertaker, and I'll never forget that. And there was also the John Cena versus Randy Orton match, which there was Ted DiBiase's brother ran in at one point, and the match restarted, and it was a really interesting match.
Right, I do remember that match.
It made me hate Randy Orton, but now Randy Orton's probably one of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah.
Me myself, it was I was probably maybe 3 or 4 at the time, and I found this VHS tape at my grandpa's. And it was Hulkamania 2 on VHS, and crazy thing is, I still remember to this day. And for like the longest time, my mind was like, "Is this real? Like, did that actually happen in my childhood?" Because I couldn't find it online or anything, and I think it was last year, something like that. I Googled it and I found it online. I was like, oh my God, this actually did happen.
Yeah.
You know, King Kong Bundy. And
I think that's the best part about wrestling, though, is that when you watch it for the first time, you don't know if it's real or not, but you're so entertained by it.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh my God, what am I watching?
It really is larger than life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah.
And then my first pay-per-view that I actually watched was the Royal Rumble, the 2006 Royal Rumble, where Rey Mysterio won. I don't remember the other matches. I just remember the Rumble match itself.
Yeah. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think Taker returned there as well, which doesn't seem like an impossible thing to say.
Yeah.
But I think he came back with like the horses, and I think that I don't even know if the Royal Rumble was actually the main event. I think it was actually Angle won the belt again.
It's very
possible. And then Undertaker came and then just like shut all, like brought lightning bolts from the sky, and I think that's what finished the pay-per-view. But yeah, that Rumble was really good.
Yeah,
really good.
Absolutely. And then I was hooked, but I didn't really have any like channels to watch it on. So for me, it was just YouTube videos, and I got really into hating Edge, the Rated R superstar.
Yeah.
What a heel, but such a great wrestler.
Yeah.
You know, great on the mic.
So is Edge one of your favorites, would you say? Or would you say that there's more besides Edge? Because Edge, to me, is one of my favorites, but
I think Edge is definitely up there when it comes to back in the day and on the mic. Yeah. But all time, I still got to say, like, Undertaker, just his aura, his presence.
Yeah, best gimmick of all time.
Never going to be beaten.
Yeah.
Aleister Black, just his look and how he carries himself in the ring. And Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is one of those wrestlers I find is very underrated.
Yeah. Probably the most underrated in the company right now.
Probably right now, yeah. And underutilized. Is he injured right now? Is that it?
I don't know. He's on commentary, so I'm not sure if he's like actually injured or if he's... Because he's working with Seth. But anyways, that's too much. So my favorite superstars, well, of course, Randy Orton was my first one. I'm a huge fan of Chris Jericho. I think as a fellow Canadian, I believe that he is the greatest Canadian wrestler of all time. And you can debate me on that all day. But I think
debate that.
I think that Jericho's number one. And Jeff Hardy, because, he was the first pay-per-view that I saw, the TLC match. I was actually pretty heartbroken that he lost. And then knowing all about his stuff, and then he left like the week after I started watching wrestling, and I was really bummed out. But I follow him on TNA and all that stuff. I'm a huge fan of Charlotte Flair as well. I think she's the best woman that was ever in wrestling. And those are my favorites. I don't know if you got more.
I think it's unreal, really, how much of an emotional connection people can have to wrestling.
Yeah. Or just a wrestler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because in the essence, it's just people fighting. It's storylines.
Yeah.
It's fight with plot. But it's so emotional, and it really does like carry weight to it.
Yeah,
everything
and
they do.
that's what this podcast is going to be about.
That's exactly what this
talk about
podcast
wrestling.
is going
We're
to
going to talk about all kinds of things that are happening.
Exactly.
And give our opinions on stuff. Mm-hmm. And so this was just an episode to tell you what kind of people we are and how much we like wrestling and stuff like that. We will release a full podcast every Friday. For sure. Mm-hmm. And if you want to follow us, if you want to give us topics to talk about or anything like that, we will be on Twitter at MW Podcast 1. Fortunately, somebody took MW Podcast. Person has no followers and not. Anyways, MW Podcast 1 is our Twitter handle. That's MW Podcast 1. Our email, if you want to email us questions or topics, it's maritimewrestletime@gmail.com. If you want to check us out on YouTube, which is where you're probably going to hear this podcast, it is Maritime Wrestletime Podcast, and on Facebook as well at Maritime Wrestletime Podcast. Thank you very much, and we hope that you have a good day.